Have you ever sat down to do absolutely nothing and your mind still felt like it was running a marathon? No task, no deadline, no one talking to you, and yet somehow your brain feels louder than ever. Most people call it overthinking. Psychology calls it something else entirely. It's called the default mode network, and it's rarely something you can just switch off. Let's break down the real psychology behind why your brain feels busy even when you're doing nothing. One, your brain doesn't actually rest when you stop working. Psychologists discovered a network of brain regions called the default mode network that activates specifically when you're not focused on an external task. It's not idle, it's just switched to a different kind of work, replaying, predicting, and reviewing. Two, silence gives your brain room to process what it couldn't process earlier. All the emotions you pushed aside during a busy day, all the thoughts you didn't have time for, the moment external demands disappear, your brain uses the space to catch up on everything it postponed. Three, your mind is wired to scan for unfinished business. Psychologists call this the Zeigarnik effect. Unfinished tasks and unresolved thoughts stay mentally open and demand attention until they're closed. Doing nothing doesn't erase that list, it just makes it louder because there's nothing else competing for your attention. Four, modern life rarely gives your brain true stillness to practice. Constant stimulation, scrolling, notifications, background noise means your nervous system rarely gets to sit in quiet long enough to learn it's actually safe there. So when stillness finally arrives, it can feel unfamiliar, even uncomfortable, instead of restful. Five, your brain interprets rest as available bandwidth for worry. When there's no task pulling your attention outward, anxious or ruminative thoughts don't have to compete with anything. They expand to fill the space, the same way water spreads to fill an empty container. Six, this restlessness is often mistaken for a personal failure to relax when it's actually a nervous system that hasn't been given enough practice being still. Learning to rest isn't instant, it's a skill. And like any skill, it has to be built slowly. If you've ever sat in silence and felt more overwhelmed than when you were busy, psychology doesn't say something is wrong with your mind. It says your brain finally has room to process everything it's been carrying. And that process is simply louder before it gets quieter. Healing isn't about forcing your mind to go blank. It's about slowly teaching your nervous system that stillness is something to trust, not something to escape. Scribe and keep decoding the human mind. Scribe and keep decoding the human mind.